This is Kiss FM, and you're with Adele Onyango and Shafi Weru. And of course, we do have some Selena Gomez coming up in the next 2 minutes. But I'm super excited about who has just walked into studio, because I read his story after it went viral online on Facebook. A friend of mine shared it, and I was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It was the story of Steve Muchiri at 29 years old, having buried all of his nuclear family members, right? And it's a story that Biko, who's an amazing blogger, wrote. And we have Steve Muchiri live in studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
morning,
you so
first and foremost.
Good morning to you, Adele and Shafi.
And I know you got lost trying to find us, but it's okay.
The farthest they come to Nai is City Cabanas.
Oh no! Just understand, Shafi's just crazy like that. But
it's okay. He's allowed.
Yeah, so it's great to have you here, because I think your story, for me personally, like I read it and I was just like, this guy is strong.
You know, Adele, we're doing our preparation for the show, and Adele mentioned it, and I was like, no, that's a lie.
Yeah. So okay, so
it's true.
It's a real story.
Yes.
For those of you who didn't read it, let's just go to the very beginning. Okay, so your first interaction with death and burying a member of your nuclear family was when?
I was 5 years.
5 years old.
Yeah, I lost my sister, and death introduced itself to me, and I was a bit young, so I didn't understand death.
Yeah.
So I was told, she's gone and we'll never see her.
Yeah.
And I knew I had lost a child, a playmate.
Yeah.
She was 3. Yeah. I was 5, so I would play with her.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see her anymore, so I knew I had lost someone.
Yeah.
And life moved on, but in 1998, my brother was born, and I was very happy.
Yeah, because at least you felt like now you've gone back to having someone. Yeah.
He was a brother, so we would do stuff with him, as he grows up. And I was so happy. But 8 months, he had complications of anemia.
Yeah.
Then he was hospitalized for 1 month. Then after that, he had meningitis and malaria. And he passed on at the age of 8 months.
8 months.
How old were you then?
I was in class 5. I think I was 98. I was 12.
12.
Okay. Yeah.
So at this point, before we even go forward into the story, and when you keep meeting death, right?
Yeah.
At this point in class 5, what are your emotions now? Do you start feeling like, is something wrong with me, or?
At that time, I was a bit mature. I was growing. I was starting to become a teenager. 12.
You're an adolescent.
Yeah, an adolescent. Yeah. So I understood death. So I was like, now my brother.
Yeah.
And I loved him. I really loved him, because I would lull him when he's crying, and carry him around and show him, take him to my relatives to just hold him. I was very fond of him. So it was so. I remember I cried.
Yeah.
I went to my bed and I cried, and I told God, why are you taking this young man?
Yeah.
I mean, I lost my sister. Now he's gone.
Yeah.
So I'm now alone again.
Why?
But this, God, sometimes he doesn't explain himself, but as time goes by, he reveals himself. So I moved on, and I took heart, and I
became strong. Yeah.
Then after that, my mom, now losing 2 kids, she was depressed, and she was having a lot of grief.
Yeah.
And no one was there to help her. And she was sick. In and out of hospital. And I remember in the year, that was in 1998 when my brother died.
Yeah.
In the year 1999, she was, the whole of 1999, she was sick.
Yeah.
2000, February, she got very sick. She would collapse in the house.
Yeah.
Go to my grandma, call my grandma to, just come and see how you can help her. Because my father was a taxi driver at that time. So most of the times he was not at home.
He was at work. He was working.
He was working. So he was not there at that time. So he came home, and he took mom to hospital. She had malaria and typhoid.
Yeah.
Then she stayed in hospital for like 3 to 4 days. Then I asked my dad, how is mom? He told me, your mom is actually recovering.
Yeah.
And he could come back home by maybe Thursday. So on that Thursday, I was in class 7. I came back home. I was in a day school. So I came back home expecting to see my mom. Only my grandmother I asked my grandmother, because she was coming from our house in the village in Embu. I come from Embu. So she was coming from our house, and I asked her, "How's mom? Did you come with her?" She told me, "Your mom has rested." I asked her, "Rested in the house?"
Yeah.
Told me, she kept quiet. She was like, "Your mom has gone to be with the Lord." And I was shocked.
And this is now
belief.
when you're 14 years old.
I was 14 years.
Buried your sister when you were 5.
Buried my brother when I was 12.
And 14, now your mom.
I've buried my mom.
Now you're 14 years old.
Lost your mother.
Lost your mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
After your sister and your brother.
Yeah.
Then what happens now?
So after I lost my mom, I think I went into denial.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not happening.
Yeah.
But, it would catch up with me, because a mother cooks for you.
Yeah.
Mom buys you clothes. A mom is always there to, encourage you.
Yeah.
And do stuff for you, come to school to visit when I have school fees issues or school issues. And mom was not there.
Yeah.
And it hit me hard, after like few months. But no one would understand.
Yeah.
There was no one to talk to. There was no one to express what I was feeling. But I thank God for my aunt.
Yeah.
And aunties. I have like 8 aunties from my dad's side, and also from my mom's side. There are several of them.
Yeah.
So they would call me and tell me, "Son, don't worry, we're there for you." So I think that would
encourage you.
That would help you a bit.
Yeah. But I was not able to talk to them how I was feeling, because I felt they wouldn't understand.
And so now it's just you and your dad.
It's me and my dad. And you know what? My dad told me, "By this, son, I'm not gonna marry.
Yeah.
I'm not marrying, so we're gonna live together."
It's just the two of us.
I was like, "Okay, Dad, it's cool."
Okay.
So life continues. I was not born from a very privileged family, so we were also struggling financially.
Yeah.
And I remember I did my class 8, but Dad didn't have school fees. And he would tell me, let's just trust God. He will give me money and take you to Form 1. Fortunately, my auntie, my dad's sister, also, helped me with school fees, and I was able to go to Form 1. But fast forward, in the second term, I came back home, and Dad told me he's sick.
Okay.
And I asked him, "Dad, what do you mean you are sick?" He told me I have tuberculosis.
Yeah.
And it's very, very bad stage, because I have to be on medication for a whole year.
Okay.
Every day. For 1 year. And I was like, I am trusting God.
Yeah.
Dad would not leave me in the inside.
Yeah.
Because at that time, in the year 2002, TB was it was a bit scary.
Yeah.
You hear someone has TB, and you're like, this person can either die or live. So it was
like a death sentence. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad was on medication. In third term, now I was in Form 1. In third term, I came home and I found him sick. He had now malaria, cerebral malaria. Actually, he was hospitalized for 1 week.
Oh dear.
He came back home after 1 week, and he was okay. Then after 2 weeks, he developed malaria again and meningitis, and he has tuberculosis, and he developed a throat infection. He could not eat, and he was taken to hospital on 25th December, Christmas Day, in the year 2002. And we actually took him with my uncle.
Yeah.
And it was difficult, and he was in so much pain because of the meningitis. He couldn't, meningitis, you cannot stand, you cannot sit, you cannot, he would cry in hospital. I saw, for the first time, he was 40 years.
Yeah.
I saw my dad cry like a child because of pain. It was traumatizing. I would see him, I would cry. Then he would look at me and he would stop crying. He would tell me, "Son, God loves you. He's gonna be with you. Don't worry, I'm gonna be fine." And it was hard. I would cook food, take it to hospital, give him. I was imagining, I couldn't imagine feeding my father, but I fed him. And at that time, I was really asking myself, what's happening? I was scared. I was scared of the of what if he dies?
Of what you've been through.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to go through this again. I don't have the strength. But fast forward, I went back to school in January. Yeah, so
Form
then
2 now.
Form 2. But I was not okay. I came back home to see my dad the first week.
Yeah.
We opened. I came back on Sunday. On a Sunday, I asked for permission from the school to go and see him. And I saw him, and we had the last talk. He called me, told me, "Son, I'm gonna die." And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
I was like, why are you telling me this? I was like, he told me you are not God. I'm gonna die, and when I die, don't worry, God is gonna take care of you. He told me Jesus will come for me.
Yeah.
And he was here last night, and he told me he'll come for me, so you don't worry. And that was the last conversation I had with my dad.
So in Form 2 now, you say bye to your dad.
So I go back home, I go back to school. Then on the next weekend, I come back. Because he told me he's gonna die.
Yes.
So I was like, no one is telling me how he's doing. So I came back. I didn't go to hospital. I went home. And on my way to home, on the footpath, there was this sickening silence. And I was like, God, what is happening? Then as I neared our house, as I reached towards our house, I saw a tent, a white tent. And I was like, my dad is normal. And these guys have been meeting and they've buried him. And they didn't tell me. And I wailed, I fell down and I wailed in a very, I cried in my loudest voice.
Yeah.
And my uncle was going to church because it was on a Sunday. He found me crying. And they started now consoling me and telling me, we were supposed to come for you today. Your dad is not buried yet, but we are to come to you. We didn't know how to come and tell you. All of them were like, how do we tell you?
How do you deal with the situation?
Yes.
That is...
You're in Form 3 then?
I was in Form 2.
Form 2.
Yes.
Mid-Form 2, right?
In the year 2003.
2003.
February.
So by
First term.
Form 2.
Form 2, yes.
You've lost everyone now.
Everyone.
Oh my God. Okay, so how does he stand up and keep walking? How do you end up, being strong enough to write it in a book? You are turning your story into something so powerful. And Patty Makmuri, you're saying, I read the story that was written, Jana, it did go viral, but I was finding it hard to imagine that it actually happened, but it's so powerful. So many people are... sharing that your story is actually inspiring them.
Yeah.
And I know it's not easy to share.
It's not, but I have gathered courage because I don't share the story for people to have pity on me or to, just show how, life was hard for me. I do it because I want to inspire people, because I know so many people are going through so many life challenges, and you feel like giving up. And I'm like, God help me not to give up. And I encourage myself to move on and be the person that I am today, writing a book even from the story. Yeah. Because I was like, why stay with this story?
And it can touch somebody else.
Someone. Yeah. And I get a lot of inbox messages from Facebook.
I was one of the inboxes.
and people tell me, wow, you guy, I thought I have issues, but from today I'm going to have a positive attitude and I'm going to keep moving forward no matter what happens to me. And it's so encouraging. I actually don't do this, to make money out of it.
Yeah.
I do it as it's my purpose. It's my purpose because I want to give hope to so many people in the world.
Not only in the world, in Kenya, these young people are so hopeless.
Yeah.
Like we're having a discussion of, candidates using brain boosters.
Imagine
drugs that are used by, mental patients to try and, conquer or see through the KCSE exams. It's like, it's the end of life, but it's not.
It's really not. Even if you fail, it's really not.
Even if you get an E, God gives a second and a third chance. And there's a lot you can do with your life, you know. I'm not saying, passing exams is not good.
Yeah.
But if you fail,
it's not the end.
It's not the end. You can fail forward. You can do something better,
Fail forward.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think also, I love that you talked about your purpose, because sometimes you have to go through really painful experiences to figure out, why the hell am I alive? What am I here to do? And Steve Muchiri, you've shared your story in a book called The Victor in Every Victim.
Yes.
And this is your life story.
That's my life story.
Okay. Yeah. And has anybody, since you've shared it in this format, in this book, what is the one response you've gotten from somebody that was like, wow, I'm actually doing the right thing?
There is someone who inboxed me and told me, by the way, I'm planning to commit suicide.
Oh, man.
And I was like, I actually, I tried to talk to them and I shared with them, what I've been through. And and they were like, and not even, I have met even people in person who are like, I want to commit suicide. Yeah. Because life is too hard. Life is too hard for me. And I talk to them and I tell them, you know what? Whatever you are going through, it's just, it's not permanent. Yeah. It's for a time. It's a season. It's gonna end. So don't end your life because of a season that will end. You know, don't do a permanent decision in a to a temporary
situation. Yeah.
God can never give you more than you can handle. Never.
Yeah.
That's my motto.
Yeah, true.
And it's
as they come, as in I deal with it, as I move on. Good or bad.
Yeah.
There's something to learn from it.
Yes, just learn and just strive for a better tomorrow.
Yeah.